We want to sing a song for you this morning that is one that makes you think a little bit. The title of it is Great Are You, Lord, and He is great, right? But one of the main points in the song is that He is the one that gives us the breath. And so what are we going to do with our breath? We're going to give Him praise, aren't we? As He gives us the breath, let us be sure to give Him the praise. And if you believe that, hey, join with us this morning and at least let us know, yes, I believe that. Here we go.
Darkness
Let's continue to worship this morning as Padre comes to give us the message. A great man that loves bikes.
Yep. First, I want to make sure my mic's on. Everybody hear me? Let me tell you something, choir and orchestra, you guys need to take it on the road. You guys are amazing. I'm telling you. Man, you guys are truly blessed to have a choir and orchestra that can just lead you in worship like that. Wow. So I'm glad, first of all, that you guys are letting me be here to speak this morning. And my brother, Pastor Nate, I know if he's off playing, I promise I won't tell what goes on here when he's not here. I'm sure he'll call and ask when he gets back, and I'll say, hey, man, everything was good. It was all good. The church is still there. We had a good service. Anyway, a little bit about myself. Believe it or not, this is a homecoming for me. I'm from Citrus County. My dad was a veterinarian over. He had an animal hospital over on US 19 between Homosassa and Crystal River many, many years ago. And I moved here in 1976. Graduated Crystal River High School in 1978. Was around here for a couple more years doing this and that. And I went in the military. And once I left in the military, my career, I never came back. However, my mom and dad did live here for several years. And my mom, just 4 years ago, my mom passed away at the age of 97. And she was at Life Care in Lecanto. So I did get over here to see her. But I haven't been back in 4 years. So it's really an honor and a privilege to be with you here in Hernando. This is an amazing county, beautiful, beautiful area. And it hasn't been 4 years since I've been here, and it's grown a lot. I mean, the growth that we've seen in the buildings going up and the neighborhoods, it's just amazing how much is going on here. I'd like to also share with you a little bit about me. I was adopted, and I knew I was adopted my whole life, and but never really looked into it until just about a year and a half ago, year and a quarter ago, because mainly we wanted to see what my ethnic background was, because my skin is real dark, and whenever I got my tattoos, the tattoo artist said, well, you have Indian skin. So I went and I did a DNA test, and I got a thing back that says you have either a sibling or a grandmother that you match with in DNA. And I'm thinking, okay, if I have a grandmother that's still alive, I'm in a good bloodline because she's living to be an old, old lady. Come to find out, I had a sister, and my sister and her husband are here today, and I'd like for my sister Sandy and her husband Pete to stand up. They are from Jacksonville. We only live 2 hours away from each other. And it's been, as of the 12th, which was this last week, it's been 1 year since she's had a baby brother giving her grief every day. She'll tell you about it. So anyway, I am the outreach biker pastor at Crossbridge Nazarene Church in Rockledge, Florida. My passion is biker ministry and outreach. We have the Nazarene missions field that we do on an international level, but there's also something so many people forget about, and that's our local mission field and outreach that we have to do locally in our churches. And it's so important that we do this because there's so many reasons why. Number one, of course, is there's a lot of lost people out there that need help. Number two, in order to continue to keep our churches growing with new blood coming in and new young people coming in here, we have to do this. If we don't, then our churches are going to die. So this morning I'm going to be talking about the Great Commission. Now, not necessarily how you would think. I'm going to be talking about it in the aspect of what we can do as a church to try to bring more people in and how we can reach more people and the things that we can do in the whole picture of the Great Commission to get people to come in and eventually lead them to the Lord. So let me go ahead and let me open in prayer. Heavenly gracious Father, we thank you for this amazing church. We thank you for these amazing people. I ask you, Lord, that you be with us this morning as we hear the things that we can do, the things that we need to do to reach out to so many people that are unchurched and lost and hurting and suffering. And Father, I pray, Lord, that you'll put a burning in our hearts, Lord, to motivate us to do these things that we need to do. Lord, we thank you for us being blessed here, that we are able to sit here and worship you. But I know there's people, Lord, in here that had someone come to them and led them to the Lord. And that's what we're called to do. So, Father, we give you the glory this morning. And all God's people said, amen. So we're going to open up first, and we're going to read the Great Commission. And that's going to be in Matthew 28:18 through 20. Now, if my words don't match up with your words, that's okay, because I read out of the NLT, the New Living Translation. You guys, I believe, do the NIV. They're very close, so we won't be too far off with each other. Okay, Matthew chapter 28, verses 18 through 20. Jesus came and told his disciples, I have been given all authority in heaven and on earth. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commandments I've given you. And be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of ages. That's God's word this morning. It's very important. He's basically giving us marching orders. Jesus, before he leaves and before he's crucified, he's saying, this is the deal. This is what your marching orders are. And as you come to know me, and accept me into your life, now you have a job to do. Again, as I said, this message is kind of a twofold message with processes from many steps, but it needs everyone here to participate and be a part of it to be successful. It is encouraging to see what God can do through a single church that is sold out for the Lord and teaching and preaching the word and being sacrificial of their own wants by doing whatever it takes to reach the unchurched. Doing whatever it takes to reach the unchurched. It is convicting because we see all the more that God wants us to do more than we are doing to fulfill the Great Commission and a great church. You guys have a great church, right? All right, I want you to say it. We have a great church. All right. You do have a great church. One of the first ways, though, to be successful in fulfilling that Great Commission on this level is to befriend those that are around you. Now, you understand I'm passionate about outreach, so I'm going to bring you a message about outreach. I do this about once a year in our church as a reminder. But what we can do is we can go and maybe greet somebody or meet somebody that lives nearby and befriend them. We can start out casual. It could be, hi, how you doing? My name is so-and-so. If you need anything, give me a holler. But as time progresses, we want to get to know those people. Get to know them a little bit more personal. Get to know a little bit more about them and what they do. In many years in the biker community, I did that with people. There was a particular fellow by the name of Fireman Dave. He was the enforcer for the Warlocks Motorcycle Club, which is a 1% motorcycle club. He's the guy that took care of business when things went wrong. I met him through the club, but one day after a funeral we had, he was in the room of the house afterwards. They were all gathered and partying. He was pretty wasted. But I went up to Dave and I said, Dave, you and I are going to be friends. Over 7 years, I grew a relationship with Dave. At the end of that 7 years, he walked into the club and he gave him a box of all the stuff and said, I can't serve two lords. And he gave his life to Christ. Biggest smile you ever seen in your life. Never saw him smile like he did. Him and his wife were down at the church volunteering every single day they could. 2 months later, he died in his sleep. But I know where he's at. But that was because I took time. I got to know him. I didn't give up on him. I kept just working with him. I tell you, you could ask my wife. He'd be mad about some silly thing, and he'd call me on the phone, yelling and screaming and cussing and everything, and then he'd hang the phone up, and then he'd call me back a few minutes later, Padre, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me for yelling at you like that. It's not your fault. It's just me. And that happens so many times. So you need to look for people that are around you that you interact with, people that maybe you know, your neighbors, people you work with. You know, there's so many people out there that need to know the Lord. They're everywhere. Another reason is to give them a reason to come to church. You see, in today's world, it's really, really hard to invite people to come to church and then get them to stay in church and return. But you as a church need to be ready. You need to be ready because this is a crazy world we live in. So there's so many preparations and things that need to be done and need to take place. And this church and all churches need to hear this. There's so much that we need to do to prepare. First of all, of course, as they come, we need to be ready to greet them and be genuinely happy that they're here. Make them feel like when they walk in here, they're walking into family, and you're loving and slobbering all over them. And I'm going to share a story here in a minute. But what you need to do is offer different programs, things that will bring them in, mothers and fathers, and different things that they can do. Basically, you're looking to see what you can do to fill needs. Your needs here in this community are much different than needs in my community, but there are also some needs that are the same. But you need to see what needs there are out there that need to be filled. I see where you have a loaves and fishes program that you're doing. That's amazing. That's amazing. I saw on the wall where you're doing that, and I guess they need food, and I don't know if they need volunteers, but that is such an amazing mission. And you guys are doing something already here that's needed. Some of the things that we've seen, we've gone to many conferences and pastors' conferences and stuff, and some of the things that I've seen is maybe to have a movie night. Invite the community and have a movie night with popcorn and that sort of thing, and set it out there and make it for everybody to come and see. Or possibly have a community Sunday where after church you have this big meal where you invite people and make it open where people can see and they're invited, and anybody's invited. They can come and have a free meal. Food will always attract people, especially bikers. Just remember that. Make sure if you do this, you have special parking for bikers because they will show up if the food is free. I will tell you that. Amen? One that we heard about that was so cool. This church, they went and bought an old panel van. They cut a hole in the side of it. They bought a freezer and put a little generator in there. They went down to Sam's Club and bought those freeze pops and cheap ice cream. They put vinyl wrap all around the outside of the truck with their label on it for their church, and they drive around giving away free ice cream. And they invite people to church that way. They have been so successful with this, they're getting ready to buy a second truck. That's how successful that church has been. I was thinking the other day, I grew up here, so I know how much fishing there is here. Some really good fishing, as a matter of fact. You guys could have a fishing tournament on a Saturday. But the whole thing about it is they have to come to church on Sunday to get their tournament award or whatever it may be. You could go out and find vendors that are willing to donate, and then you can give those away as your prizes. But you tell them, nope, you got to come on Sunday to get your award for whatever it is. Just an idea. But believe it or not, churches, change can be great. Change can be great. There's been a lot of change in our own church, and I'm going to share some of those things with you here in a minute. And this is all a part of outreach because it's got to start here as the root, here in your church, to be able to be effective and outreach outside these walls. Some of the examples of the things we have done in our church. For 14 years, we did a biker Sunday where it was one particular Sunday that was all dedicated to the bikers. We fed them. We had the sheriff's motorcycle drill team from Brevard County come in and do drills. We opened the church up and we rode our motorcycles into the church onto ramps. Do you know that we brought 700 bikers into our church? 700 bikers in our church. Now, I know there's not a lot of you bikers in here, but you can always start somewhere. Hey, listen, one person gives their life to the Lord, it's worth it, right? If you have 500 people come in here and one gives their life to the Lord, yeah. Veterans Sundays, we invited them and invited our veterans and our first responders in and offered them meals and to show them our gratitude. We used to only have one service at our church, and it was a traditional service like this with an orchestra. Up until about 7 years ago, we had one service. But then we decided, you know what, we need to be able to extend that a little bit. We need to be able to reach more people because not everybody's into traditional music and not everybody's into contemporary music. So why don't we open another service up? So we did. We opened another service up where we have now a contemporary service and a traditional service. Now, I will tell you that we did have some people leave the church because it was tough for them to make that change. But the number of people that have come in return coming into the contemporary service has been amazing. The return has been amazing. We had a Love Your Neighbor weekend last year that was awesome. Is that what it was called, Love Your Neighbor? And so what we did is many different things in the community. We took all the fire stations in our city. We took meals to the fire stations, to the firefighters. We took meals to the police department for the police. We had people serving down at the thrift shop, working in a thrift shop. My wife and I were participating, and we went and bought $500 worth of gas at the local gas station, and we spread it out so everybody that pulled in could get $5 worth of free gas. And we got to stand. I'm telling you, you wouldn't believe how many people we got to pray with that morning at the gas pumps. It was amazing. And it just took just a morning to do that. And it was so great that we went back and did it again. And it was amazing being able to do that. We started 2 years ago with Irma. We started putting up, I don't really know how it came about it, but I think it was somebody had just called the church and asked if there was anybody who could help her put some hurricane shutters on their windows. Well, next thing you know, we're all over the city putting hurricane shutters up in people's windows. Walmart heard about it. Walmart came down and did it and shot a national commercial about our church putting hurricane shutters on people's houses for the hurricane. And now every hurricane that's come, we're getting flooded with calls. And our people are going out now. And this last one, I think they did 25 houses, putting shutters on windows. Another thing we've done is we take Ziploc bags, put some candy in there, and on Halloween we take and we make a little card with all of our information on it. And we take it and we fold it over and we staple it on the top of that Ziploc bag and we hand it out. How many holidays, or whatever you want to call it, do people actually, unchurched people, come knocking on a Christian's door? And this is an opportunity to give them this candy, but also something with our church on it, with all the information, inviting them to come to church. We started Upward Basketball. It's where the kids come in, they play basketball, and during the intermissions, they do have devotions. This is a big one. Several years ago, I think it was probably 4.5 years ago, we changed the name of our church. We started talking about it slowly but surely. And the reason why we changed it is because where we're located, we're in Rockledge. That's the name of the town, Rockledge. And we were called Rockledge Church of the Nazarene. But we were bordering another community called Vieira in Melbourne, and we didn't want to be exclusive to Rockledge. So we started talking about it, and over a period of time, the church changed its name to Crossbridge Church in order to cross that bridge to get to the Lord. It's not really a big deal, people think about, but it takes that exclusiveness out of it and makes this ability to reach more people, possibly. We went to where we were having biker church service every Sunday. Every Sunday there's a biker church service. And now, starting next month, we're going to be taking it on the road. We're going to be going out to the clubhouses on Sunday morning, out to the different locations and doing biker service to them. So one of the things that you can do, this is great, man. Start at the doors. Have those people in your church that have the biggest, cheesiest smiles. The ones, you know, where when they smile, they have like ear-to-ear teeth. You guys got people like that in your church? I know you do. Those are the people you want to put at the door, because you want, when those new people hit this door, they're going, wow, look at these people. They must have had some happy juice or something. The next thing you do is you have that second line of greeters. You can put them right outside the door and have them standing here just like this. And when those people walk in and after they get done shaking their hands, you just charge that person. You tackle them and you hug them and love them until their eyes pop out. No, you don't want to do that. That might be a little bit too much. But you want to be ready for them as they come in the doors. Look for things that will appeal to them. And don't be afraid to try something. Step out of that box and try something. Do you want to know how many families there are in my church that want me to be their child's grandpa? Seriously. But you know what? Every one of those children that I do that with, do you know how much I'm able to speak into their lives and into the lives of their parents and that family? You see, there's a lot of us older folk in here. There's a lot of young people and families out there that are just waiting for something. They may need a grandparent. And as older people, that's what we can do. We can be a grandparent. We can speak that wisdom that we have. We can speak that into their lives. And you don't have to wait for them to ask. Man, just get yourself in there and start loving on them. They love it when old people come over and start loving on them and slobbering on them and doing all that kind of stuff. You might be able to create a program where you can get the two generations together, bring the young folks together, bring the old people together, and next thing you know, man, you'd be surprised what would happen. I will tell you, these young generation, the young ones, they really need our wisdom. They really need the things that we can offer, because some of these generations are really, really going astray. Here's the biggie. This is the biggie. And so many people have problems with this. Invite them to church. Invite them to church. Here's a staggering statistic for you guys. You probably are going to be blown away by this. Of the unchurched in America, if invited, do you know how many would come? 82%. And that's just a recent statistic. It only takes 10 seconds to ask somebody, hey, how you doing? Your lawn looks great. Here's your newspaper. Can I come over and wash your car? I don't do that very often. I take mine to the car wash. And my wife goes out and washes my bike. No, I'm just kidding. She doesn't. She says, you got it dirty, you're going to wash it. I said, yes, dear. So it only takes 10 minutes to ask, or 10 seconds to ask. But you know what? If they say no, don't give up on them. Don't give up on them. Years and years ago, when my wife was single and we were both in the military, and she had a guy that was coming by to pick her up every day for 3 months. He kept asking, we go to church, go to church, go to church. And she was like, finally, fine, I'll go, just for you to leave me alone. My wife gave her life to the Lord. Shortly thereafter, she met this drunk guy who was a total idiot and a loudmouth, or a drunk jerk. And she invited him to church, and he got saved. And he's standing right in front of you right today. Sorry, I had to get me some water. I'm drying up here. But the thing about it is, I've been able now to do God's work and lead so many people to the Lord and be a part of that. And anybody in here that's been a part of leading somebody to the Lord, isn't it awesome to think that you played just a minor part in doing that? So by that guy not giving up, she finally came to church. She gave her life to the Lord. She then turned around, asked me to church. I got saved. And now I'm leading people to the Lord. Could you imagine if that guy had just given up after asking one time? What would have happened? Chances are my wife wouldn't have given her life to the Lord. I know I wouldn't have. And there's so many people out there that I minister to that wouldn't have either. That's why it's so important that if you do this, commit yourself to it and don't give up on them. Just keep asking them until they pull a gun out and point it at you and say, stop asking me. And then you go, okay, I won't ask you no more. Then you start praying for them. That's the real big one. Start praying for them. Once in church, the people will hear their gospel and they'll get to know about our Lord Jesus Christ. Then they'll get saved themselves. Then they'll want to be baptized. By the way, we used to do baptisms about once every quarter or so, but now we started doing this called celebration baptism. And what we do is we bring the baptismal in, and our worship band, it's a contemporary band, they start playing and we're all praising and worship. And as we're doing that, they're getting baptized. And we're all praising and singing and hollering, and I'm one of the biggest guys hollering in there, but we're in there hollering for them as they're getting baptized. I want you to know, we do it now to where we have shorts and towels and t-shirts all ready if anybody wants to get baptized that hasn't already scheduled to be baptized. One Sunday not too long ago, we had 9 people in our congregation that came up spontaneously and got baptized. And it was through praising the Lord and just giving them the opportunity to do that. Here's another staggering statistic about our church that I want to share with you, because the reason why is because this all has to do with the things that we were doing and how we had really wasn't doing a lot of outreach as much as we should have been doing. But we made some changes. In 2013, we had approximately 220 people attending on every Sunday in our church. Today, 6 years later, we have 400 to 450 attending church every Sunday. But there were so many things that we had to do differently in order to bring those people in. And as we see, that is all part of being a part of outreach, because we have to be prepared as we go out and we do what God calls us to do. Our challenge to be sensitive to God's leading and ask God to open our eyes to those unexpected opportunities to serve our community, and to be willing to adjust so we can change people's lives, because that's what it's all about. The hard part of all that, though, is the challenge of changing and being willing to adjust, being willing to step out of the box and maybe say, this is a wild, crazy idea, but let's try this. See, we cannot save people from the judgment to come. We can't do that if we don't love them. We can't do that. We have to be acceptable, accept everyone, and reach out towards all generations, young and old, to the disabled, to single people, to drug addicts, to alcoholics, to prostitutes, and homosexuals. We don't have to agree with their lifestyle, but we sure have to love them. Because you know what? Even in our mess, Jesus Christ loved us. Even in my darkness, when I was drinking and when I was lost in my own little world, Jesus still loved me. And I give him the glory. You can tell this is kind of an emotional thing for me. You guys excuse me a minute. I need just a drink. All right, I'm good for another 2 hours. So we see the list is endless, the things that we can do, that there's so many people out there that are hurting that we need to reach. 2 Peter 3:9, and this I'm going to be reading you this out of the Message. It said, God isn't late with his promises, some measures lateness. He is restraining himself on account of you, holding back the end because he doesn't want anyone to be lost. He gives everyone space and time to change. That doesn't mean that we have to compromise. We don't need to compromise our belief or compromise the word. We just have to be able to shift the way that we're doing it. You see, the sicker they are, the people are out there, the sicker they are, the more Jesus wants them. I was a sick man, and he pursued me. He was chasing after me. He's chasing after so many people here. You have to be committed to building a relationship. There was another biker, his name was Digger. He was with the same motorcycle club, and he was into drugs and doing all sorts of crazy things. Wasn't living a life that was very pleasing at all to anybody. Invited him to church one night. He came to church and sat in the service, and it kind of made an impact on him, but I didn't really at the moment realize how big an impact it made on him. It took about 1.5 years or so, 2 years, but I will tell you now, Digger is now given his life to the Lord. He's a deacon in his church in North Carolina and serves this church as their kitchen chef. So that's all it is, was just inviting somebody to come in. And this is how people's lives can be changed. One night, Mary and I were coming back from a bike night, and we used to love going in Walmart because there's some wild people when you see in Walmart late at night. And I was one of them, of course, but that's beside the point. And we're standing there, and as we're going down the aisle between the freezer section and, I don't know how your Walmart's set up, but there was bread and stuff on this, I'll never forget. And there's this fellow there, an older fellow, who looked like he was really struggling. So I just went over and said, sir, I don't know you, but you look like you're really struggling with something. And if you need to talk, we can talk, or I can pray with you. And he just started spilling to us. We didn't realize it at the time, but there was like these other people that were kind of standing down the aisle a little bit from us. As we finished up with him, finished praying with him, gave him a hug, the next person in line came that was standing there waiting, and we prayed with them. Then the next person that was standing in line came over, and we prayed with them. We were just making ourselves available. So we have to do this. Ministry should be by the church. Should be by the church, but not in the church. We need to be outside these walls. Outreach is a way to win the lost by presenting biblical truths in terms people can understand, in ways that are culturally relevant, not in the traditional Christianese that we use when we go to church. Because there's some language that we use when we come to church that somebody outside the church won't know. We can't use Christianese with them. Conducting ministry is a way that is sensitive to the needs of our community as we reach out. To present biblical truth through various means of communication and technology that is interesting, stimulating, credible, and compelling. Now that in itself can broaden wide open of different things that we can do to be able to reach people. One of the reasons why I have tattoos, I have Jesus on the cross on my arm, and I have a cross here that says paid in full, is because it's a way for me to reach bikers. It's a conversation starter for me. My motorcycle is a conversation starter. It's a way for me to start that ball rolling to be able to reach out to these people. The best people that are able of coping with these kind of things are people that are adaptable, flexible, fast-moving, and able to change. There's a fellow by the name of Mike Rigels, and he says this, and there's 4 things here. Number 1, the pace of change is so fast there's no time to reflect. In this world today, it's moving so fast there's not time to stop and think about it. Complexity of change presents us with too much to absorb. There's so much change going on, and the complexity of that, we're like trying to go, and we can't. Our brains just won't. I mean, as I get older, my brain has a hard enough time getting up in the morning and having a cup of coffee. Chaotic change is comprehensive and affects every area of our lives. It does. Chaos does. And that's what's going on around us. Change in culture is unpredictable. It cannot be anticipated ahead of time. So you see, we're in a so ever-changing culture and so ever-changing world today that it's going so fast that we just practically have to take a deep breath and run as fast as we can just to keep up with it. 1 Corinthians 9:22 through 23 says, "When I am with those who are weak, I share their weakness. For I want to bring the weak to Christ. Yes, I try to find common ground with everyone, doing everything I can to save some. I do everything to spread the good news and share in its blessing." Everything. Everything. We must be a church committed to the task and to the people. You see, the church is at a pivotal point right now. Do we step up and do what it takes to reach all, or do we sit in our seats and be comfortable? We sometimes just assume maybe that somebody else is going to do it for us. There's a church on our district here, and I won't mention where the church is or anything like that, but that church has not had a baptism or anyone give their life to the Lord since 2006. 2006, 13 years it's been. They haven't had a new member come into the church since 2009. There has to be changes made. We must always be careful that our approach, even though change doesn't get its way, of the core values and core truths of God's Word. So we want to make sure as we do this ministry, no matter how we do it, no matter what the outreach is, no matter what we do in the church, that we don't fall away from the core teachings of the Bible. You know, some people say, well, with the world changing so much that we have to do that. No, you don't have to do that. We stick to the Word. We stick to what's in here. But God gave us a mind to be creative. But at the same time, we should try to win them by all means possible. All means possible. People are lost and hurting and suffering, and they're going to be going to hell if we can't go out there and do whatever it takes to reach them. I'm so passionate about outreach. Every week I go into the jail and I visit prisoners and I teach a Bible study. Those guys need the Lord just as bad as anybody else. And those guys almost come to tears for the fact that I just come in there. I could be anywhere else, but I choose to be in there with them, and that brings tears to their eyes. So what kind of church are you? What kind of church is this? Do you love enough to establish a church of believers that the world can feel accepted? That anybody, no matter who they are, when they walk through that door, they're accepted. No matter what they look like, smell like, what they're wearing, they're accepted. Are you willing to do whatever it takes to reach your community? Whatever it takes. Will you include God, those that God puts in front of you, the undesirables, those people that you just don't want to be around? In this crazy times, is in chaos or fast change, let's settle a few things right now. Who we are as a church, our ID, and what people see in this community of this church. God can see who you can be and who you will be. He sees who you can be and who you will be. We, the church, need to live. We have to live in this untidy world, this crazy world, yet we have to be able to offer hope for people. We have to be that spiritual hospital that people can go to. You see, if we turn our trust to the Lord and follow His will, He'll lead us just to where we need to be to reach those that are around us. So what kind of church do you want to be? Are you willing to reach and do whatever it takes to reach the lost? Here's a few things that we ask ourselves constantly at Crossbridge Church. And I'm serious, these are questions that we are asking ourselves as pastors, as a staff, as our board. They all ask these questions. Are we doing everything possible to reach the lost in our community? Are we doing everything we can? What outreach can we do more of? What sort of outreach? Is there another outreach we can do? Is there something that we can reach out? What changes do we need to make? What changes in our church do we need to make to be able to reach more people? And this is the big one. If our doors were to close today, would the community be saying, how in the world are we going to make it without Crossbridge Church? You see, we want to find that niche in our community that if we closed our doors tomorrow, the community would be going, how are we going to be able to do it without Crossbridge? Just like you can find that niche you have in your community so that when people around here go by and they see Hernando Nazarene Church is closed, they can say, oh my gosh, how are we going to be able to survive without them here? That's what God wants. There's a part to play in all of this and for all of us in this. It doesn't matter how young or how old you are. It doesn't matter where you're at. If you're working, retired, it doesn't matter. There's a part to play for everyone. Even Jesus had to change. You know, He could have stayed up there in the comfort of heaven with the Father, but no, He changed. He came to earth. He went through suffering here. He suffered and He died for the lost on that cross. He made that change, but He knew what was best to be able to reach more people in this world. You see, He's commissioned us to do the same thing. He's called us to do whatever it takes. Are you willing to give all that you have to reach the lost that are outside of this church? Not what you want, but what God wants and what He wants you to do as a church. We, the church, it's us. You guys, Crossbridge, doesn't matter where, Nazarene Church or Baptist Church or whatever. We, as church people, are easily willing to give our lives for this church building, right? But have we given our lives to God's vision for what He has for us to do? I just want you to know what a passion it is on my heart to reach so many people. God doesn't want us just to get in a groove and stay in a groove. He wants us to step out that groove and do whatever it takes. And He's given us so many tools and opportunities and people with talents to do these things. And I can see a lot of talented people in this church. You guys have got an amazing church. I want you to know that we were warmly welcomed here this morning and got to talk to some great people. And you guys are truly blessed to have an awesome, awesome church. And I'm excited to see the things that you're going to be able to do to reach the people, and not only in Hernando, but in Inverness, in Lecanto, anywhere here in Citrus County. And cross over the line over and go north, go to Citrus Hills. You guys will be able to reach so many people. God is calling you to do that. God bless you.
And praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, all creatures here below. Praise Him above, ye heavenly hosts. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Amen. And let us go. Thank you.